Welcome to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw, therapist, well-being coach and slight loose cannon. I'll be sharing some life lessons and wisdom from the real world. If nothing else, it'll take your mind off your problems for a bit. And if we're really lucky, you might even hear something that helps you to make it better. So stick around for real talk, real growth, and some probable bad language. Let's dive in, shall we? Hi. Hello, beautiful you. Welcome to today's episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that trips up a lot of my clients. Well, it trips me up as well. Who am I kidding? You know that deep feeling of frustration that you feel when someone behaves in a way that you yourself would never behave. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know, that kind of real sort of seething, burning feeling of injustice. Like, how could they behave that way? How could they do that thing? I don't know. Maybe they forgot to thank you for a favor that you did, which is something that you would never do. Or maybe they were blunt. Maybe they were tactless and they said something really gross that hurt your feelings. Maybe there was a dispute and they took the other person's side, definitely the wrong person. Maybe they took a really offensive political view, something that you just absolutely are opposed to. I mean, how could anybody believe what they believe? How could anybody actually behave like that? Because you would never do that. And so it must be obvious, right? It must be obvious to any right-thinking person that that behavior or that belief is absolutely not okay, right? Sorry, this is going to piss you off, but says who? Who actually makes the rules? Who decides what is absolutely right and absolutely wrong? Is it God? Is it the government? Is it you? Here is a great big but very difficult truth to accept, and that is there are no rules. There are no great universal truths about how to behave. All of us are just making it up as we go along. So there may be laws, but laws get broken every single day. Laws change from country to country. Ways of behaving are different from culture to culture. So who's right and who's wrong? Who actually makes the rules? And what happens when they get broken? And why? Why does it hurt so much? So in case you haven't worked it out yet, it's you. It's you. You make all the rules that you live by. Now, of course, we are all a product of our upbringing, our environment, the families, the culture that we grew up in. And those things may influence you. They're likely to. Or you may rebel against them. But either way, it's still you who makes the rules. You choose to comply, go along with the culture and the landscape that you grew up in, or you choose to completely go against the grain and be the black sheep of the family and rebel against it and go your own way. Either way, it's still you who makes up the rules. Now, we all have a set of rules that we try to live by. Usually inconsistently because, hello, we're humans, not robots. And those rules are created by each one of us individually in our own minds. And the tricky thing is when you come to human relationships is that most of our personal rules are unspoken. For example, you might have a personal rule that, I always say thank you when somebody opens the door for me. Or I never interrupt when someone is speaking. I just wouldn't do that. That's incredibly rude. Or you might have a personal rule, I always admit it when I'm wrong. And no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And that's the other thing. We even break our own personal rules. So that clearly they're not absolute rules either. This is why diets fail. This is why exercise regimens flounder. This is why New Year's resolutions are given up before the end of January. This is why you get back with exes that you were completely done with, supposedly. So look, really, in actual fact, what actual rules are there? And what happens when somebody else breaks your rules? Let's dig a little bit deeper into this. When somebody else breaks your unwritten rules, rules that you had previously thought applied to everybody, that are obvious, that everybody should think like this, it can be a huge source of pain, really burning sense of injustice. So somebody else has done something that you would never dream of doing. And coming from your place of hurt, you absolutely know, for a fact, no decent person would ever do this. Just ask anybody, right? You say to yourself, just ask anybody. And so you do. That's exactly what you do. You go and ask people. But here's the thing, you go and ask people that you know they're going to agree with you because they're the people that you chose to do that. You know that they will be, outraged on your behalf. And so for a time, your pain, it gets sort of temporarily soothed by being right. And I'm putting that in inverted commas. You get this kind of wonderful sense of righteous indignation. And you know what actually happens? Instead of your pain being permanently soothed, it actually grows because resentment gets born. And it calcifies around your heart and it makes you unforgiving, inflexible, and harder. And if your inflexible rules get broken often enough, then you end up cutting people out of your life completely. This is one of the saddest things to see is people who are not speaking to their best friends or members of their family. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to put up with bad behavior. Obviously, that isn't okay. And you need to stand up for yourself and make your boundaries clear if somebody is being a dickhead to you. However, all too often, I see people putting up unnecessary and unhealthy, rigid boundaries. Now, you might tell yourself that these boundaries are just to keep you safe from hurt. But healthy boundaries are flexible. Instead, your boundaries end up being like walls. They keep other people out, you don't trust anybody, and they keep you locked in on your own. And again, I'm not advocating that you put up with other people's bad behavior. I'm just inviting you to look at what rules are actually being broken. If we don't even keep our own rules, how can we expect other people to? If we don't treat ourselves well, how can we expect other people to treat us well? We teach other people how to treat us. And if our own rules are unspoken, then how can we expect anybody else to know what they actually are? And I can hear you shouting, but it's obvious. They should just know. It's obvious. Everybody knows that. But, oh, my love, this is the thing that's tripping you up. That belief. The belief that your rules are universal. They're not. They are just not. What offends you might be completely unimportant to somebody else. What hurts you might make somebody else laugh. Everybody's different, and so your rules are yours, not everybody's. And I know that this is a really tough truth, so I want you to be incredibly compassionate with yourself as you navigate this. It isn't easy. And if you're not used to having healthy boundaries, at first it's going to feel incredibly uncomfortable. So, to help make this a bit easier, here are some things that you can ask yourself when somebody else breaks your rules. Firstly, is this an actual rule that I have clearly and explicitly communicated? Now, this requires you, all these questions require you to be incredibly honest with yourself. Because a lot of the time, when somebody else has broken our rules, we think we may have communicated it. But if we're really honest with ourselves, the answer is usually, no, I didn't. I just expected that they wouldn't do that. I just expected that they would know that because it's obvious. Well, maybe it's not obvious. So in other words, if you have not clearly and explicitly communicated your rule, then tough. You can't expect somebody to adhere to it. The next thing to ask yourself is this a rule that is absolutely unbreakable for me? Is this a total deal breaker? Is this my line in the sand? Or is it something that I can be flexible about? Is it something that I can maybe feel uncomfortable but learn to live with? Or is it something that I could even let go completely? Is it possible for me to have a reasonable conversation with the other person about how I feel when this rule is broken? And this next question, I think, is a doozy and will unlock an enormous amount for you. What are you making this mean? When somebody else breaks your rules, what are you making that mean about them and about you? Are you making it mean that they obviously don't love you or that they don't respect you? Are you making it mean that you don't belong or you don't deserve to have people treat you well? Are you making it mean that they're just a bad person and you need to cut them out of your life completely? Be conscious of the story that you tell yourself around this rule breaking. Because when you turn your thoughts inwards and when you reflect on your own possibly inflexible beliefs, when you compassionately allow yourself to perhaps change your mind, then you automatically create this lovely, soft, open space in your heart. It changes things, you create this understanding and compassion. It makes you so much stronger because from that place, that open-hearted, flexible place, you enforce healthy boundaries that are movable if they need to be. You become open-hearted and obviously, all good things come from a place of open-heartedness. And once again, to be really clear, I am not advocating for being boundaryless. Some people need help creating rules and boundaries because they're not strong enough in the first place. And obviously, if somebody repeatedly transgresses your very clearly expressed boundaries, then yes, that is a person you no longer need to be around. However, if you find yourself repeatedly pissed off with other people's behavior, then, my darling, there is learning in here for you if you can be open to it. I invite you with a loving and open heart to let go of the need to be right. Let go of who is wrong and who is right. Rewrite your rules. And this is a big one. So, I'm sending big love to you, my warrior soul. Big squeeze. You can do this. Thanks for listening to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw. If you'd like to stay in touch, then please visit norwichtherapy.co.uk and join the mailing list to receive a gorgeous free meditation straight into your inbox. And if you'd like to chat with me about your stuff, then please book yourself a free 30-minute call at sophieshaw.as.me/free call, and we'll start making a plan for your happiness. This podcast is intended for educational and vaguely entertaining purposes and is not a replacement for counselling, psychotherapy or coaching. Please take responsibility for your mental health and ask for the help you need. You're fabulous and you deserve to be happy. Bye.